Thank you very much for joining us. Happy Sunday. Umdonga uyengwayo Malinge. Undima kaNkumbuzo welcomes you once again to another episode of Pont de Politique. Remember, you must always ensure that when you are part and parcel, before I say anything, I'm coming live from you from Gqeberha in the old Port Elizabeth. As you can see that we are not in our usual studio. But nonetheless, because the program must continue every Sunday, now we are having a conversation all the way from Ebai for people Abasebai Gqeberha. So you must at least bear with us. At some point, we might have some challenges with the internet. But welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining Pont de Politique. We are appreciating your presence once again. Before we even go anywhere, you must remember that we are available on YouTube, on Pont de Politique. Make sure that you subscribe there, and on Twitter, and follow us on Twitter. We are available, and any conversation that is has been done on Pont de Politique is available on Twitter. We are also available on Facebook and on TikTok and on Instagram. All of these platforms, we use them to ensure that we are part and parcel of the conversation. If you want to make any input, if you want to make any submission that relates to these discussions that we are making, we would be so glad and happy to hear your submissions, to hear your reviews, and to also hear how you want to improve the program. One of the things that we do on Pont de Politique is to ensure that we are improving the level and the ability, notwithstanding that the people of South Africa are very intelligent politically, but we also want to improve on the type of political understanding that we are doing in our country. This is to ensure that that particular conversation influences how we make decisions politically, how we make decisions socially, how we make decisions economically, financially, so that we are able to know what is going on inside the politics of our country and the politics of our continent. As I have said, Umtunga Uyengwayo, Umalinga Undima kaNkumbuzo welcomes you once again on this wonderful Sunday. So today we've got our guest, Utatu Zungula, who is the president of ATM and also a member of parliament. Mongameli, thank you very much for joining us. Wamkelekile tata unjani?
Mandibulele ndibulise ndiyaphila and nawe ndiyakuva ngobethwa kolimo kuba impilo nonke ikhona.
Ewe hayi siyayibulela kakhulu lo ndawo. Our viewers at home are a very informative type of people, and therefore they follow some of the things that are taking place in our country. And the platform that we are engaging on is a platform that deals precisely with the issues of politics, not only in the South African context, but also in the politics of the continent. And we thought it would be wiser and beautiful to have Wena Mongameli as a member of parliament and also as the president of a political party to be part and parcel of this. So on behalf of our viewers who are watching with us, thank you very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
The first question that normally comes to people's minds, and I want to take it out of the way. Ikaw ne politik zihlangana kanjani? Because you come from the background of the church. When ATM was established, it was established from people from the church. Now, can you help us understand how does the two mix up, or how did you manage to make them mix together, and what is the objective of that particular approach?
Mhlekazi wami, xa uthetha ngabantu basecaweni, you are speaking about people, the very same people who pay taxes, very same people who are affected by load shedding, by crime, by unemployment. The fact that you've got people who are committed to the spirituality or their own spirituality, abayi-organizayo, kuthiwe yicawe, loo nto does not make them immune to the challenges of the day. Now, if you're to look at the root cause of the problems that we have in the country, kukufa kombilini okanye kukufa kobuntu kwiinkokheli ezikhoyo. That is why you are going to see high levels of corruption. Athi umntu noba uyabona ukuba abantu bayafa, there is endless poverty, there is this problem of sibonile ngeli xesha whereby there's COVID, but abantu will go even as far as ukutya imali that is meant for i-PPEs. That takes us back to ukufa kwe-values, kukufa kobuntu and kukufa kombilini. Once inkokheli ingabi nambilini, then it means loo nkokheli leyo can never be inkokheli bacingelayo abantu. So if you look at the role of uThixo ezimpilweni zabantu, uThixo uvuselele laa nto sisazela, laa nto kuthiwa ngumbilini, so that even if uwedwa awubona but bekho le nto lapha ngaphakathi kwakho ethi urongo apha okanye suyenza le nto ayilunganga. So that is the genesis of abantu benkonzo bazibandakanye nokulawulwa kwelizwe. It is because kudingakala that kind of leadership enombilini, enovelwana ngabantu, and most importantly, emoyikayo uThixo, umvelinqangi, uThixo odale zonke izinto, so that because once woyike umdali, soze ungabahloniphi abantu bakamdali. Uthi xa ujonga ii-politicians these days, you find that they do not care about abantu. Umntu will steal money, enze yonke laa nto, akhathalele uba abantu bafilisha njani na. So we need governance coming from leaders who fear God and most importantly, who respect the people.
And another question that I want to quickly pose, and so that we can also deal with it as soon as possible. At some point when you were establishing the organization, the political party, you accused that you are the fronters of former President Jacob Zuma. Can you help us? What is your view, and what is the ATM's view on that particular notion and that particular thought?
I think apha South Africa, in fact globally, ayikho political party that is not that people do not try to have a smear campaign on, so that to destabilize the work of that political party, to discredit that political party. So even us as the ATM are not different. And the fact that we do not have any history as members and leaders of the ATM in governance, so you can't accuse us of corruption.
Okay. Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, so you can't accuse us of corruption, you can't accuse us of anything. So there had to be something that is manufactured, so that the ATM is seen to have a stain that will make abantu, to try and disassociate with the ATM. And you'll recall that it's since 2018 these claims have been made. But since then, and there's been various claims ukuba were funded by Ace Magashule, Mr. Jacob Zuma is involved. So you can imagine, since 2018 up until 2022, not even one person has provided evidence. Noba uthi alright ndibonwe enkandla, okanye there's telephone records of me being in conversation with the former president. It has always been rumors without evidence. Even nangoku it's still rumors. So there's nothing esihlanganisayo with any politician from the ANC.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Vuyo Zungula, on clarifying those two questions. Why did you? Because you are amongst the young people in the country who are part and parcel of politics, who are part and parcel of the legislature, part and parcel of the people who are making the laws in this country. And you have been one of the lone voices speaking about accountability against the Phalaphala scandal of Cyril Ramaphosa. And this point, you've driven it seemingly alone, especially in parliament, taking the president to court and moving along those lines. And what drives you into ensuring that even as a lone voice in such what drives your purpose, what drives your passion in this conversation?
I think we just need to remember that, in fact, we have a belief system as the ATM that for the country to work, the institutions in our country have to work. There is no way in which you could have prosperous, functional country if the institutions in our country are dysfunctional. So if we are speaking about the institutions, one of those institutions is Parliament. Parliament has got a duty and obligation to hold the executive accountable. Parliament should not be what it currently is, which is an extension of the executive, because the manner in which our state is organized, you find that the most senior members of the ruling party are part of the executive. The junior members of the ruling party are part of parliament. So that creates a problem whereby those junior members find it difficult to hold the executive accountable. Therefore, accountability now becomes a purview of opposition parties. Now, the trick part about opposition parties is that some opposition parties, as we've seen in the CR17 bank statements, there may be members of opposition parties who are basically in the pocket of the president or receive financial favors from the president. There are also opposition parties who are saying they can work with the ruling party only if the president is the head. Therefore, from our view as the ATM, we need a functional parliament, functional legislature. Now, when you speak the truth, regardless whether you're the lone voice speaking the truth, but the truth will always make sense to people. The truth is not dependent on numbers. You could have 200 members of parliament being wrong, and you can have one member of parliament speaking the truth, and people will align with that truth. So the point I'm making here is that we are driven by the desire to have South Africa work, to have South Africa be a prosperous, safe country where all people have equal opportunities. But critical to that, it is the role and the institution of parliament, which must do its constitutional obligation of holding the executive accountable.
And for some people, they feel like even that holding of the executive to account at times, one way to say, holding the executive to account within the prisms and paradigms of the laws that have been established by the very same people who are part and parcel of the problem is the problem. For an example, some people argue that you parliamentarians come up with the rules. And again, the very rules that you have come up with, you are the first people to disregard those rules. But then you will want to come back to parliament in the legislature to say that you are holding the parliamentarians or the members of the executive to account. So for some people, they argue that it is a waste of time because you are the people who are creating and also disregarding the rules. What would you say to a young student, to a young person who has lost hope in the parliamentary processes, who has lost hope even into the opposition politics in South Africa, as we have seen in the past local elections and national elections? What would you say when a young person says parliament is a waste of time and a waste of money?
I think what we would say to them is that, firstly, we must never allow a situation where we lose hope on our country. This is the only country we have, and there is no other country we can run to. And this is the country that our forefathers died for. So we must die trying to make our country work. We must die as young people trying to get South Africa to work. Now, if a person can look at just the 20 from 2019 up until now, examine or look at the opposition parties that are there. And I love the fact that we've got forums and platforms like Ponti Politique, where it gives an unfiltered and clear observation of the work that is being done by many politicians, unlike the mainstream media that communicates with the public with a view of setting a certain narrative on agenda. So if a person can be able to look at what opposition parties have been doing, and how that the work of the opposition parties, how it has helped South Africa. For example, the immediate problem that we are facing now outside of Phalaphala, it is the international loans that the current executive has been going out and making on behalf of the country. And if you can look at this madness, you have loans that have been taken to build power stations, coal power stations like Medupi. And we've not even finished paying off those loans. We're taking other loans from other organizations for what the president calls a just transition. We are moving away from coal to green energy. And what stupidity and madness is that whereas you've got European countries that have been importing coal from South Africa at alarmingly high rates. The coal increases now in our country. There's been more than 800% coal exports from South Africa to these European countries, but they are coming to us and telling us that we must not be using coal because they're thinking about the environment, etc. Whereas South Africa is not even in the top 10 polluters when it comes to emissions. So therefore, that is what we are holding the executive accountable for at this present moment. We've requested the speaker to summon the president so he can account and have be transparent about the nature of these loans, the conditions, and what value does a South African citizen, ordinary citizen, derive from those loans. And you check that, as we're sitting here now, each and every South African citizen, by the nature of the loans that we are having, is owing close to 75,000 in terms of those loans, meaning our children and our grandchildren, when they start working, the first thing they'll need to do is pay back the loans that have been taken by this executive. However, those loans were not taken for infrastructure projects or taken for anything that adds value. So that is the work. And however, you may find that these media houses, mainstream, they would not communicate or broadcast objectively. That is why we are grateful for such platforms as Pointy Politique.
No, that's wonderful, and siyabulela kakhulu for that appreciation, and we hope that the majority of people would begin to understand this, the importance of an alternative media and an alternative voice. So, in your view, Mungameli, you would say that instead of our members of the executive, instead of taking the country away from the problems, they are actually part of the machinery that is pushing the future of young people into greater problems, into greater debt. Because if you look, you are mentioning the issue of the loans. Just a few months ago, the Minister of Finance, or the man that is called the Minister of Finance, had made an announcement about these loans, but he can't even justify them. For a person who can reasonably make sense of what he was saying, Singacho City, he was just not making sense. How do you then suggest that young people can ensure that Lamakampu and these nonsenses that are being engaged in by these people who are ministers, who are making these decisions on behalf of, how would you encourage a young person to ensure that they are part and parcel of making the country work, but also stopping the rot that we are finding ourselves in South Africa?
Yeah, I think it needs like a young people, all of them, to realize that, back in the day when it was apartheid, a lot of people would praise the leaders like Otato Mandela and the others. But if Siteta Inyani, it was the will of the people that actually made apartheid to crumble. Now, after 1994, we had less of people who are interested and active in the governance issues because besinalantu basiphethwa ngabantu abamnyama, therefore abantu abamnyama will never sell us out, and we were disengaged from the politics of the day. So the first thing that needs to come back is that we as young people, all of us, need to come back to be active politically, be in political structures, add our voice, speak out, and most importantly, hold the public representatives accountable, including the opposition parties. Because even if a person did not vote for the ATM to be in parliament, but the fact that I'm being paid by your taxes as a citizens, it is your duty to hold me accountable, to hold the executive accountable. Therefore, if I'm failing in my duty, I'm failing you as a taxpayer. So that is what you find that the minority has gotten right in our country. When the time is there to vote, they go out and vote in numbers. That is why you got parties like Freedom Front Plus. They got very, very high votes, even higher than what they got in 1994. And if you can check the minority when it comes to submitting petitions, sending emails to members of political parties, or so members of parliament, sending emails to committee chairpersons in parliament. Therefore, it makes them to be active and want to contribute towards making South Africa to be functional from their perspective. Whereas Tina, as young people from the majority, we are not as eager as them, we're not as engaged as them. So we just need to take it upon ourselves, because sit abantu who've got 80, 100 years to live, umntu that is 70, umntu that is 80 should not be allowed to just make rash decisions that will impact the country for the next 40 years. Uzobe engekho. So we as young
Yeah.
people, we just kufuneka idrileke inta kwethu kuba eli lizwe lelethu, and njengoba ilelethu eli
Mm,
lizwe, masililungise ukuze siphile kakuhle and abantwana bethu inherit a better country. So if that
mm,
kind of thing
mm,
ayikho, you can take a horse to the river, but if the horse does not want to drink, ayizosela. So kufuneka sibe nabantu abatsha who are driven to make it work. Once you've got that, I can assure you, izinto will come together.
mm. But strangely, Glenda Yavanda Vacha that you're talking about. The other time on the Politic, we were discussing about the disenfranchisement of young people and also the disengagement of young people in politics. And I was making mention about the age differences, and I mentioned about I think 4 or 5 young people who are below the age of 35 in parliament, which you are one of them. Buiseni is another person. I think there's other 2 or 3, if I'm not mistaken. And I made mention of also the largest number of the people who are in parliament. They are over 63, which is the greater population. They are over 63. But the greater population of voters in South Africa is the ages between 18 and 29, which is the greater population. A population that is highly unemployed, a population that is not represented in parliament, a population that does not even make decisions in South Africa as we see it now. You look at the African Union, I'm now, all of a sudden, the Agenda 2030 has changed to Agenda 2060. So shifting the goalposts because abantu abadala, they can see abayimitanga le target yabo, and unfortunately they have not yet died, and therefore they will shift the goalposts again. So majority of people they are of the view that the type of politics that we embark on in South Africa is not helpful, is not working out. It is the politics of the Western world. It is a politics that is drawn from other countries. As ATM, if one were to say, now Mashlale Nawe as a leader of ATM and as the cabinet of ATM, what type of politics do you think people must begin to understand? And what is the vision of the type of politics that you would present when, as a leader of ATM, if you were to be given and granted an opportunity to lead the country and to lead the executive?
I think, that is a very, very important question because the type of politics inform everything in the governance of our country. I will not dwell much in dissecting the type of politics, the political killings, the selfishness of leaders, the corruption, etc. But we believe as the ATM that we need a politics that is based on Ubuntu, meaning I should recognize ukuba I am because of other people. I must not see members of other political parties as an opposition, where they are my enemies. Sometimes you go through the townships, the fact that you are wearing a white ATM t-shirt, another person, uzoti, you are my enemy because I'm wearing a yellow, blue, or red political party t-shirt. Now that leads to even sabotage, whereby if ATM wins elections and takes over a municipality, the other people who were previously running that municipality will sabotage ATM because they do not want ATM to prosper. Now, when they sabotage the ATM, they're actually sabotaging the very same people they claim to love, because it is those people that will have load shedding, that will have no access to service delivery, that will have high crime rates, all of those things because of that sabotage. Whereas if we were to work together, put our differences aside, sisebenzisane for the betterment of the people that we claim to love, we're claiming to serve, and we're claiming ukuba ngabantu bethu. I think that is the first and most important attribute of good politics and good leadership. And secondly, kube khona healthy competition whereby if we as the ATM are in government, we do not become arrogant to an extent whereby when opposition parties are raising issues, we refuse to take that their advices or their suggestions because kuphethe thina. We must have that cooperation, see, complementing with other opposition parties, because there are other people from opposition parties that will raise good suggestions that we can do for the betterment of our people. And then the last thing would be there needs to be a culture of a healthy competition, whereby sikwazi usebenzisana, sikwazi ukompita in good faith and in good spirit, so that it is ultimately the citizens abazokwazi ukuwina.
Yeah.
If we look at, for example, let's say there's a competition between Pepsi and Coca-Cola and Fanta, you find that ezo drinks, when there's a healthy competition, it is the citizens that will benefit through good quality of products and low prices, So that is what we're having in mind, team.
No, that's wonderful. Could majority of you people who are in parliament, in cases of if there's a very important vote, could yes tengisi votes then you politicians in parliament are having price tags. You are having amounts that you can say, I'll vote for this bill, but then you must give me money. And also, Kutwa, this also happens at these so-called coalition governments, these coalitions that are taking place at local government, municipalities, and so on and so forth. What would you say about that accusation? That because when they're saying, they are not saying Uban and Uban, they're saying those people in parliament, they've got price tags. So some organizations would come to, for an example, to you, the president of ATM and a member of parliament of ATM, and say, vote for us on this bill, on this point, but Tina, we are going to give you money. Is that what is happening in parliament?
Firstly, at a local government level,
I see that we are we have lost Umongameli Vuyo Zungula of the ATM. We are in conversation with Vuyo Zungula, a member of Parliament of South Africa and also the president of African Transformation Movement. He is speaking with us about a various number of political developments in our country. At first, he made mention of, he dispelled the argument and the claim that the ATM is a front of Jacob Zuma. He also dispelled the argument that they are funded by Ace Magashule. And he also said that the ATM's approach is to have a type of political party that has got some element of morality and consciousness. He's back. Thank you for coming back to us, Mongameli. I was asking and I was saying, what is your view? Because Gutwani Atengisapa Parliament for votes. When organizations or political parties come, they want a bill to be passed. They come to you guys and sell your votes. What would you say about that? And also in the municipalities of the coalitions, what is your view on that?
In the municipalities, it is something that is spoken about. There's even court processes ezenzekayo regarding those claims. However, in Parliament, there has been accusations as well, particularly these motions of no confidence, whereby members were given money to vote one way or the other. Now, if I can talk personally, I can't talk about other people. Since 2019, I've been there. I've never been approached by anyone. However, if a person were to approach me, I would reject lo mali leyo, because what people don't understand, especially young politicians, once you take imali from a person or influencer from that one particular matter, you'll always remain indebted to that person. Also, xa kufuna ukusebenzisa also for another matter, you won't be able to say no. And you'll end up being a slave to that person. Awuzokwazi uphila ubomi be-freedom. You can shout in TV stations and shout in rallies ukuba you are free, but you're not free when you are being controlled, remote controlled by any person who gives you financial favors. So you need to do yourself a favor. Ungayithathi lo mali kusaqalwa. And most importantly, Parliament, the municipalities, they offer self-development funding via bursaries uba ukwazi ufunda. So you must utilize your time in Parliament or in government or in the municipality to self-develop yourself so that
we didn't know about that. We didn't know about that. That's a great insight.
Yeah, ungaxhomekeki apha emsebenzini to an extent whereby uzofuna uthatha imali left, right and center. But most importantly, as young people, we just need to realize ukuba if we want South Africa to change, funeka kutshintshe thina kuqala. We've seen that the politics of patronage, of corruption, of cronyism is not helping our cause as young people. Therefore, we need to have a new type of politics whereby singavumi ukuthenga, singavumi ukuthengisana thina, and singavumi to distract one another, all because we all want to get ahead. If someone is a better and articulate speaker than I am, I need to accept Londo, but there's something endizoba good kuyo. So we need to complement one another as young people. Singa compete ngendlela that is destructive to one another.
No, that is a very important input, and I'm glad that you make mention of this availability of bursaries. So Abantu must not just sit there in Parliament. If you do, as a young person, join Parliament, make sure that you develop yourself, you improve yourself. Don't focus on the nonsenses that are taking place there. And also, Vuyo is saying, don't start taking the money when they are. Don't even start it, because once you start it, it is the end of yourself in those political processes. Zungula, you are known for being this person who is pushing around this issue of impeachment of Cyril Ramaphosa. I want us to get to that one because that one is an important one. You are known about this. There are two things that you have embarked on specifically: the impeachment of the president, and also there was an interest around the public protector processes. But just give us an outline. We've got sufficient time now to engage on those things up until the end of the program. There is a process that is taking place currently in Parliament where there is a report that is expected. The people who were appointed had promised the South African citizens that they will deliver within a month. When the month was expiring on that day, they came to the media or they came to the speaker or whoever. They said they can't meet the deadline. On the day in question, which they were supposed to have been submitted the report. Now, from your perspective, from your side, why do you think it is important that Cyril Ramaphosa, as the president of South Africa, should be impeached? And why do you want to take this thing as further as you can, considering that he seems to be loved by the majority of the media, the majority of businesses, even though his organization seems to not be clear on him, but the external factors seem to love him. Why do you think it is important that he must be impeached, especially for the Phalaphala scandal? Respond to this as if you are talking to a young person who doesn't understand anything about politics and the political processes in Parliament that are taking place.
Yeah, no. Firstly, what's important is that, the constitution of our country gives the president powers of being a head of state. You've got a president that is also a head of state. Now, as a head of state, he's given so much powers to appoint judges, to appoint commissioners of Chapter 9 institutions, to appoint police commissioners. So he's got amandla amakhulu, and those powers cannot be let ukuba ahambe unchecked or unverified ukuba they are used for the benefit of the people. Now, if you are looking at the issue of Phalaphala, Phalaphala is a prime example of abuse of state power, of police cover-up, and generally wrongdoing by the side of the head of state. Now, you can't have, mntakwethu, noba kuthiwa ngubani na, so much foreign currency in your mattress, so much foreign currency that is not declared, so much foreign currency, it is as a result of a sale of animals, whereas those animals are still in your possessions even 2 years later. It does not make any form of sense. Now, if you look at the country, there's increase in drug trafficking, human trafficking, gun trafficking. Therefore, umntu cannot be faulted if they were to assume or suspect ukuba even our own president is involved in that type of crimes. That is why you find ukuba there's no political will to deal with the drug issue. You go to other countries, the other countries will be very, very clear to say, you know what, yonke into edibenise drugs, death penalty. If a policeman is catching a person odilishana drugs, that person, that police must shoot to kill. So that is the attitude. But come to South Africa, you find that, for example, there's illegal mining. What is the political will to deal with illegal mining? No. Korechwa 8 defenseless and innocent young women in Krugersdorp. Kuba kon an outcry for one day, but there's the government act? No. Similarly, kubulawa abantu in a Soweto tavern. And after the outcry, what happens? Nothing tangible happens because there's a lack of political will. So one can't help but suspect Tukuba, our president, is involved in a criminal network. That is why there's no political will to resolve some of the issues I've mentioned. Therefore, the issue now becomes what happens or what do we do as members of opposition parties in parliament? We must strive for accountability. We must have the confidence ukuba this president does not commit crimes is not a person that breaks the law, but is someone on a confidence from members of opposition parties. We may disagree on policies, nakwezinye izinto here and there, but on the issue of on the issue of abiding to the law, that one, there's no disagreement there. A person must abide by the law if they are the first citizen. Now, what are the facts about Phalaphala? Firstly, the president has confirmed that there was a theft in Phalaphala. Now, if you were to ask the people that had stolen a Phalaphala, where are they now? Are they in jail? Or are they awaiting trial? Have they been sentenced? The answer is no, because immediately there is a trial on abantu base-Phalaphala, then it will raise a lot of questions that the president does not want ukuba zaziwe by the citizens. That is why when this crime happened in 2020, he did not report it. That is why even now, when he's being asked by the Office of the Public Protector, the Reserve Bank, to account or to answer questions, he asked for endless extensions. He even went as far as had to be threatened with a subpoena for him to answer the Public Protector. Now, our role is accountability, executive accountability. We believe ukuba the president has violated section 96(2)A of the Constitution, ethetha about paid work, 96(2)B of the Constitution, ethetha about the risk of a conflict of interest between the official duty of the president as well as his private interest. Now, the president instructed a general that is there to personally guard safety yakhe as a president, to investigate a criminal matter eyenzeke on his personal farm. Now, that, in our view, is a clearer sign of a president that is acting above the law. Now, this parliament has yafaka an independent panel which was given 30 days, and this 30 days is a result of rules of parliament that dictate ukuba an independent panel to probe or start this process must report in 30 days. And mntakwethu, it should be a concern to all citizens that why are the countless extensions, delays when it comes to investigating this particular matter? Because we want people to be treated equally before the law. Because what people should realize is that Mr. Ramaphosa will not be president forever. Now, if the next person comes in and becomes president, now you find that he acts above the law. Also, the precedence has been set by Mr. Ramaphosa. So that is why Tino was seeking for accountability.
Correct.
And everyone must be treated equally before the law. The reason why you're going to have abantu carrying their own guns, unlicensed guns, not declaring taxes, not abiding by the law, it is because babona londo from the politicians. Now, if the president is a chief baker, then that sets a wrong tone for abantu all over the country. That is why we as the ATM want an unimpeachable president, a president on a confidence from all sectors of society ukuba akangompuli mthetho.
And I'm sorry for that. There seems to be a slight challenge of a network on this side, but nonetheless we could hear what you were saying. You are of the view that if these processes allowed to continue, nabanye abantu would be like saying, if the president can do it, therefore Nati we can do it. And then you have decided to take the matter. You even said that you can take it to the highest court in the land, and you can even review the report if needs be. And now you've got what is called the power of the president, which the president appoints the judges, which the president appoints the acting judges, the president appoints the people who are going to act in this committee, and all of these things. And isn't that very, very concerning to you if the president has got so much powers to make a determination even against the things that he is accused of? Isn't that a little bit concerning to you as a member of parliament and other members of parliament that you engage with? Don't you find those type of politics a little bit problematic?
We do find them problematic. However, in this particular case, the independent panel, it is members of parliament that had to indicate who are the preferred people to sit on that independent panel. And this particular process is a process that we hope to have full confidence in, because it is not like the Hawks or SARS or the Reserve Bank or the Office of the Public Protector or IPID, whereby all of those people are directly appointed and suspended or removed by the president.
Oh, okay.
You recall that, for example, the former National Police Commissioner, he was removed by the president. The current one was appointed by the president. Also, when it comes to the Office of the Public Protector, the current public protector was suspended by the president. The acting public protector was appointed by the president to act in that particular role. Therefore, we hope that on this particular issue, there is going to be more of independence, because those judges, which is Judge Nobo, not Judge Masipa, and the advocate, they are not directly appointed by the president. That is why you hope for independence. Now, however, we do need over their work. Remember there was a time where Parliament adopted a Nkandla report which exonerated the former President Zuma from accounting on the Nkandla issue, even though there were clear violations in the law. Now, what the parties did, they ended up going to court to reverse that report. Therefore, even here, we are going to study the report. And when we study the report, it must, if they are going to exonerate the president, it must make sense as to why they are exonerating. They must tell us, Okoba, there's no conflict of interest when there's a president that sends someone or by the state to guard him personally, to criminally investigate something engenayo case number. They must tell us, Ukuba, when the president has been going around and saying, I'm selling animals, it is my business. They must tell us, Ukuba, that is not paid work. They must tell us, Ukuba, there's nothing wrong when the president is sending Uwali Rode and his advisor in the presidency to go and retrieve millions and retrieve abantu who are criminals in Namibia, whereas there's no case number, and Uwali Rode is not capacitated and empowered to to actually do those investigations. They must tell us, it must make sense. If it does not make sense, we are definitely going to take that report on review.
Okay, that is wonderful, and thank you for responding to Atwell Kwangwa on that particular issue. So the point is not that there is it is not like you do not have confidence in that panel, but what the panel must when for you must make legal sense, moral sense, it must justify all of the reasons and the outcomes that it makes. And also, it must give confidence that there was no conflict of interest. So basically, Mr. Zungula does not have the problem of the panel. People must not view him in that light. He would probably read the report and make sense of the report. If there's anything untoward, he's prepared to take it all the way. Now, what is your view on the processes of the public protector as they are currently happening now? And the Miss Mkhwebane, what is your view of that particular process that is taking place in Parliament? Do you think that it is a fair and an objective process that is taking place?
Yeah, I think let's start. A lot of people, when they speak about this process of the fitness to hold office of Advocate Mkhwebane, they think it is a legal process, whereas it is not. That process was initiated by a political party, therefore, it's a political process. That one, people must not mistake it. It's a political process, it's a political inquiry that has been initiated by an organization that has not made their dislike of Advocate Mkhwebane private. They've always made it very clear that they dislike Advocate Mkhwebane. Even the manner in which things are conducted, you are going to have an evidence leader there instead of bringing the evidence. And when there's an inquiry that has been held objectively, as the evidence leader, you bring abantu that are for and against, people with good and bad. You do not only bring abantu that have somewhat bad, bad things to say or wrong things to say about the public protector. That is not a trial. A trial, when you are prosecuting someone, you only bring abantu that will give you the evidence so that the judge finds that this person is guilty. Now, in a fitness to hold inquiry, an evidence leader must be fair. An evidence leader must give the impression of they've examined everything. It is not a witch hunt with a predetermined outcome. However, with that evidence leader and the manner in the evidence has been coming up, you check even now recently, they went as far as trying to create a perception of there has been looting done by the Office of the Public Protector and black advocates. That is why they look at, for example, they even shared that Excel sheet of advocates, Kakane, Dalim, etc., with the view of creating a narrative. Okoba, those black advocates have been looting, whereas they've been providing services. Now, what they do not do, they do not provide, for example, comparisons as to the time Advocate Madonsela was a public protector, how much were the legal fees, and which companies were used. But on this particular case, they want to highlight certain advocates with a view of creating that narrative. And the second issue that people don't understand, the legal issues of the public protector were very low previously because the reports were viewed to be just mere recommendations up until a constitutional court had an outcome saying the reports of the public protector are binding unless set aside by the court of law. So there has been now there's been interest ebantwini to actually go to court and challenge those reports. Now, when people go to court to challenge those reports, therefore the public protector naye kufuneka aye to the court to defend those reports. That is why there's
I would defend, yes. It makes sense.
Yeah. So that is why you find Ukoba there's been a substantial increase. The increase of legal fees is predominantly as a result of that particular issue, of that one court judgment, ART. Are binding. The reports are binding. Therefore, if Umtu wants to have a different outcome, they must go to court. Previously, Umtu would just look at the report, ayifake ewardropini yakhe, and it would gather
and not
dust.
do
But
anything.
now,
Pile it up.
not doing anything.
Yes,
But
yes, yes.
now, the public, if there's a report and you don't do it, you don't implement those remedial actions, then it means you are contempt of the public protector, which does carry fines, carry prison terms,
I see.
and etc. So that is the issue that we're facing. Now, if you look at the nature of the issues emanating from that inquiry, the public protector deals with many, many issues, and that
Yeah.
office has been lauded for having 3 successful successive clean audits. And have dealt with cases much
I
more
wanted
higher,
you to raise that. Yeah.
dealt with cases much higher than the previous public protector. They've gone to outreach programs to be accessible in the most remote areas, because the intention of the public protector, it is basically those bread and butter issues whereby kukhona ugogo ezilalini who
I
can't
hear.
access
I hear.
i-grant yakhe because uHome Affairs akamfuni umnikeza i-ID. So kugcwele those cases whereby they finalize close to 60,000 of those cases per year. Now, if you were to look at now these high-profile cases, it is those high-profile cases ezimenze ukuba kwathiwa ngulo mntu wrong. But if you look at, for
Oh,
example, at
no, I
times
hear. I hear.
bazothi u-acte above the constitution. But if you look at, for example, Advocate Madonsela, the constitution is clear ukuba if there needs to be a commission of inquiry, it must be the president of the country who institutes that and appoints a judge. Advocate Madonsela says, Mr.
Okay.
Zuma, you are conflicted on this issue. Therefore, there must be a commission of inquiry, but this commission of inquiry, it must not be you who chooses a judge. There's a clearest violation of the constitution by the side of that particular public protector.
So already, sorry, Mr. Zungula, I want us to just a little bit there, because there's another important question that will come out after. You are saying that the way that the process is taking place is not using a comparative approach with the previous public protector. It is only focusing as if there was no other public protector before. It's only focusing on this one. There's no comparatives with apples. If there is a comparison, it is apples with pears. That is your claim that you are making in the process of the public protector inquiry.
And over and above that, they're not taking into account material changes that have happened to the law,
I see.
which have led now to the increase of people running to court to either oppose or want to set aside those reports, which on the other hand, and force the public protector to go to court to defend those reports.
No, that is. Thanks for that. I've learned something about this particular aspect. Even something that is good, because we called for it. We called for the fact that the reports of the public protector must be binding. We called for it. But out of that goodness that came out of it, there was also the negative when it came to the issue of money. I've got two questions that I need you to engage on. This one, it is saying that now that you were talking about Mr. Rode, Major General Rode, what is your stance on his redeployment by the SAPS commissioner? Do you not think it has something to do with his involvement in the Phalaphala saga?
Definitely. If you look at the conduct of Major General Rode, if we're any self-respecting country, he would have been in jail by now, because he's a person that unlawfully investigated something. He kidnapped people, he tortured people, he abused state resources, but he's still under the employment of the state. And this is the trend in our government, whereby if umntu mosha ebhayi bayamthatha bamse komnye umasipala ayomosha khona, kwenziwe ngathi yabo, benze ngathi they've dealt with him, whereas they've actually not. And the fact that even the
Okay.
president has not distanced himself from the actions of Mr. Wally Rode, it clearly shows
I
ukuba,
see.
because Mr. Wally Rode, in his own affidavit that was submitted to the Office of the Public Protector, he says there he was summoned to the room of the president when they were
All
in
right.
Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, when the president told him, Okoba, there's been a break in Phalaphala, and he was tasked to deal with the matter and report back to the president. So you cannot divorce the actions of Uland Owali Rode from that particular instruction, because Owali Rode has got no farm in Phalaphala. He's got no investment there. So he had no reason to investigate or do anything. He only acted because of that one particular instruction. And that
All
instruction
right.
said report back to him. So the
I
understanding
see.
scenario, if Ufualu Rode went to the president, were reporting to engekhoyo, athi Mr. President, the investigating. Mr. President, befama uthi yena, all right, but andukuthumanga investigator. Therefore, yiyeke lento. But the fact that he
Okay.
was he was reporting back, the fact that even on the 25 June 2020, he went with the advisor president to Namibia, clearly shows that the
All right.
president has been part and parcel of zonke izinto nokuphula umthetho kwakhe uMr. Rode lona.
All
So
right.
we believe
I hear.
ukuba definitely utshintsha because of
Mm.
irule yakhe Phalaphala.
So uthi ikhona isheyi wayedla ngokuthi omnye utata endanimazi wakwamgijima ethanda ukuthi ikhona into elele ngecala kula office. Inoba
Kakhulu.
kufuna sitsho sithi ikhona into elele ngecala e-ofisini kapresident. Nanko omnye umbuzo ke mntakazungula, I think this one would be the last one. And again uvela ku-Atwell Khwankwa uthi uyabuza apha uba I just need to see it properly because I can't see it well. Just give me a minute. Yeah, there is it. Uti apha. Can you give us let us try it again. Can you give us an idea, a view of the opposition parties, like some form of a breakdown, or which are the opposition parties who are for the approach that you are taking, and the opposition parties that are against that that approach, especially on the issue of Phalaphala and also on the Mkobanemet. Remember, amongst you guys, you do engage, and also there are those who are opposing you, because Tina, we are hardly in parliament. We get the snippets of the main media, and some of the majority of people are hardly hearing or get any feedback from their political party representatives. So Ponte Politik is just giving a snippet as well. Uguti, from your understanding, which political parties in the opposing view, in the opposition, that are taking the same stand as you are taking in relation to Phalaphala and in relation to the Mkhwebane?
On the issue of Phalaphala, you'll recall ukuba a few months ago we had a press conference with opposition political parties, the EFF, the UDM, the IFP, the ACDP, the PAC, the COPE, all with a view of having accountability on the issue. The AIC was supposed to be there, but they had some logistical problems. So those are the parties that are working together to ensure accountability on the lentils. The DA they had a certain view. That is why they did not join. And they had a view ukuba we
Okay.
should not have a motion of no confidence on the issue of Phalaphala. Rather, we must just have an ad hoc committee and impeachment process of which econ. Now, on the Mkhwebane issue, Advocate Mkhwebane issue, it is the ATM, the EFF, the UDM, the PAC that, and to a certain extent, the Good Party that have been fighting for the process to be fair, that it must not be a witch hunt, and there must be accountability on the chairperson. The chairperson cannot go there, treat that committee as if uhleli nabantwana bakhe, and the evidence leader must not be given free rein to do whatever afuna uyenza. So those are the parties that are basically aligned
Right.
when to the Phalaphala and the advocate Mkhwebane matter.
Kwankwa was able to get that outlook there and the picture around that. Now, as your closing remarks, Mtaka Zungula, most people have looked at you. Most people have watched in Parliament. Most people have seen you make these inputs, and you've been udla ngokuthi omnye umfweni mazi athi ndiyamthanda uZungula, ndimthandela le nto uba even if urongo uyayimela into yakhe noba urongo. Now, in the previous conversations, I mean, in the previous elections, the ATM gave an instruction, and it gave an instruction that the people who are going to vote in their wards, they must vote for either three. I think there were three political parties. I think there was an APC at some point. I think there was if there is no APC, there was the PAC. If there was a P, but I think they were three. They said the members of the members of ATM must vote for. If they can't find the candidate of ATM, they must vote for APC. If they can't find the candidate of the APC in the ballot, they must vote for PAC. And if they don't find, and I think they were three. Can you please just, in your closing remarks, make your closing remarks, but also you answer this question: what informed that decision as the ATM when you were doing that? And you can answer the question first, and then make any concluding remark that you want to make, so that we can close our conversation this evening.
As the ATM, we are ideologically closer to the PAC and the APC. So that is why because if you look at the comrades from the APC and the PAC, ngabantu abanesazela, ngabantu othi xa bajonga bayamazi umntu, bayamhlonipha umntu. Therefore, it did not become something enzima to align ukuba si-align, because ideologically sithetha language enye ethi one human race, as espoused by Prof. Robert Sobuk. Now, I think firstly, mine is to thank the platform, appreciate the conversation, and also encourage young people to take part in such conversations that are progressive and that are going to take our country forward. We can't be overly conversating about issues ezidibenise notywala, ibhola, nazo zonke ezo zinto, and you find that ultimately, ilizwe lachabalala and we are unbothered, seemingly unbothered. We need to have conversations about, development, about self-determination. The highest order of self-determination, self-determination is the highest order, because Qatar is saying we've got our laws and we are not going to bend our laws because we want to host this tournament.
All right.
And the tournament,
I hear you.
But if you had to come to South Africa, you find that South Africa had to make a lot of concessions only because it wants to host a tournament. So meaning we do not have a self-determination. Singabantu who bend our rules because we want to fit in the world or want to be accepted by the world. Whereas other countries are saying nankumthetho apha and asuzuxelelwa nini ukuba masenze ntoni na. So that is what we need. We need a South Africa ezothi. This is what the law is saying in South Africa. If you come to South Africa, abide by these laws, okanye ungazi, asukucenganga, That is the only way. But ukuze sifikelele apho, we need to get South Africa working. For South Africa to work, we need, as ATM, we don't believe in this messianic politics whereby abantu bathi hayi so and so nguye, he's our last hope, sizosindiswa nguye kule nto sikuyo. No, that is not true. Abantu who are going to save South Africa, it's not one politician or one president, or one member of parliament. It is the people, Gabantu, when they accept themselves, ukuba, they are the ones with the power to change things for the better. So we need to encourage people to take up that power and lead South Africa ngokwabo. And then us, as members of parliament, as leaders, sibe zii-servants zabo, whereby when the people bathi abayifuni into ethile, then Tina, we need to respond to the cries, the wishes, and the frustrations of Abantu, not the other way around, whereby the people are actually subservient to the politicians or the parliament. It should be the other way around, whereby Tina, as members of parliament, sazi ukuba sicenge abantu, sizizicaka zabantu.
Correct.
That is why with ATM we call ourselves servants of the people, because we want to ingrain it kuwo wonke amalungu e-ATM ukuba xa ubona umntu yazi ukuba you are a servant of that person. If you become a councillor, a member of parliament, you must understand ukuba you are there to serve that person ohlala ematyotyombeni, that unemployed person, that that worker who's needing to work 3 jobs in order to make to make means. Yeah. So that is why for us it's important ukuba people must regain their power and not allowed to be controlled by a few politicians. Siyabulela kakhulu.
Now, thank you very much, Honorable Member of Parliament Vuyo Zungula, for being with us this afternoon. And I hope that the majority of people have gotten a great insight of some of the things that you were giving us. At least you gave us some few bars that I thought were very much important. So, seeing upon the politic and everybody else, and on behalf of the viewers, thank you very much for making the time. You are a member of Parliament, and it has not been difficult for you to say that I am available for an hour into this conversation. So thank you, Mtaka Zungula, and all the best into your future endeavors and into your political career. And colleagues and friends, viewers at home, we have been watching with Vuyo Zungula, and he has been giving us some bars. He has been giving us some aspects of the things that are taking place in Parliament. And one of the things that he had spoken about, which I thought it was very, very much interesting, is the availability of opportunities for young people in Parliament. So if you do make a turn and be part of a parliamentarian, make sure that you don't become I want to use a proper word. I almost said something bad. Don't just become an ordinary person. Improve yourself, develop yourself, and also at the same time, become a servant of the people. Thank you very much for joining us. Make sure that you continue to subscribe to our channel. We have been struggling with an internet connection because we are in a different part of the world. We are not in our ordinary studio. We are in Gqeberha, Ebai, namhlanje. So we have been struggling with the internet a little bit, but we did manage, and we thank you for watching this program for today. And we are going to see each other next week. Umtungwa, uyengwayo malinge, undima kankumbuzo, utikuni. Thank you very much for joining us, and all the best. Have a great week. Bye-bye.